Hey everyone, and welcome to Small Step Saturday. I love Small Step Saturday. This is where I teach you a small step or a simple life skill that will make your life way easier, streamline things, or help you accomplish a goal of some sort. And I just have to know if anybody out there loves fall as much as I do. I am absolutely obsessed with fall. I love all things about fall, but one of the things I love most about fall is fall flavors. And that's why today I'm going to be talking about pumpkins and squash and gourds and how to make things out of these foods. They're incredibly healthy and nutritionally dense, but a lot of times we just don't know what to do with them, right? We just simply don't know what to do with them. And here's the thing, they're crazy easy to cook. Now, I'm going to do this today with a pumpkin because I host Thanksgiving dinner and I make a homemade pumpkin pie from scratch. Everyone just falls over themselves like I've done the most difficult thing in the world, but it's so easy, y'all. It is so easy. And you can follow these same exact principles to cook acorn squash or butternut squash, or if you happen to absolutely want to try the spaghetti squash in place of pasta, this is actually a great way to do that. And it's so easy. So I actually have two pumpkins because I like to make pumpkin pie. I like to make pumpkin muffins, pumpkin pancakes, and I also really like to make homemade pumpkin spice lattes because A, they're healthier, B, I can make them dairy free, and C, they taste way better. Okay. And well, D, it saves you a lot of money to make them at home. In general, using pumpkins and gourds is a huge money saver because you can typically get them for a pretty reasonable price and they make great like soups and things like that. And I have to tell you this, they are very filling, very nutritious, and very delicious. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to preheat our oven to 350 degrees. Anytime we're making a recipe that we're putting something in the oven, that oven does need to be preheated, even if it's not in the instructions. If it's not supposed to be preheated, it will definitely say that. But you always want to get that oven preheated. So we're going to go ahead and turn on the oven first. That is the best idea anytime you're going to bake something. Just turn it on first so it can warm up while you're doing your prep. Then what we're going to do is go ahead and cut our pumpkin in half using a pretty sharp knife on a cutting board that either has silicone feet so it won't move or put a damp paper towel under it so it doesn't slide. That is a really awesome kitchen hack. So don't forget it. Okay, so you're going to cut that pumpkin in half. Once you have your pumpkin cut in half, you're going to notice that there's seeds and like stringy, wet mess in there. And I like to scoop this out and put it into a bowl because I also love to roast pumpkin seeds, which I'll totally tell you how to do at the end of this video. So what you're going to do is just use a tablespoon and scoop out all of that wet mess. Now, I like to scrape it a little bit because I find that it's easier to get it out. But you don't want to scrape too much because once you start pulling up the lighter orange, almost whitish, stringy stuff, that's actually the pumpkin flesh itself. So you're really just trying to get that wet stuff out of there. But y'all, it's attached, so it does take a little elbow grease to scrape that out. Toss it into that bowl and set it aside. The next thing you're going to do is cover each of your pumpkin halves with foil. Now, I like to break off the stem. That can be hard to do, but I like to break off the stem so that it really creates a seal. If you don't break off the stem, you want to make sure you work around that stem so that it's really closed off and it can create some steam in there. I also always cover my baking tray with foil for easy cleanup. I just don't want, if anything gets on, I just don't want to have to scrub it. Like that's just the reality. You do you, but I like to make cleanup as easy as possible. And then you're just going to pop them in the oven. That's it. Just pop them in the oven for an hour. Okay. After an hour, you will just open your oven back up, pull them out. And then I like to pull the foil off of each one of them and let them cool a little bit. You don't have to let them cool. I do because I'm not trying to burn my hands. Okay. So I let them cool off a little bit. Go ahead and scrape out all of that flesh. And you're going to see that it will come out really, really easily. And you might even nick the skin a little bit. You'll see like dark, dark orange, like that dark skin color. Make sure that you get that out of there. You don't want that in there. So you're going to scoop it out and put it into a blender or a food processor. Now, y'all, I have a high-speed blender. I have a Blend Tech, and I use that for everything just because I don't like having extra gadgets in my I mean, I love extra kitchen gadgets, but I've run out of places to store them. So I don't collect extra gadgets when I only use them once or twice a year. I try to multi-purpose, and you can do that with your blender for sure. So you're going to put it all in your blender, and you're just going to go ahead and turn the blender on. Does not matter. My blender has settings like smoothies and soups and different things like that. I usually use a smoothie setting or a soup setting because it's already hot. And I use the presser thing because, meaning you have to take the little centerpiece out of the top of your blender. And it usually comes with something, or you can use a rubber spatula or something just to press down on the top and make sure that it's circulating. Partly because even though it's really moist, you're not adding any extra water to it. And so sometimes it doesn't actually get moving the way that I want it to. So I'll just kind of like tap the top of the mixture. Don't put that whatever you're using, don't put it too far in because you will hit the blender blades, and that is not at all pleasant. I have to tell you that. I've done that a few times. Once you actually are done blending it, you just need to blend it until smooth. You don't need to actually run through a full cycle. Once you're done blending it, I like to portion mine in half cup portions. Why? Because I found that for a lot of recipes, you need a cup and a half. Okay. And so that just makes it nice and easy for me to get it out of the freezer in the right amount that I need and to not have any go to waste. So what I do is I just get a half cup measuring cup, a little cup, and Ziploc baggies. Now listen, anytime that you're trying to measure something into a Ziploc bag, for example, marinades, things like that, all you need to do is put that bag inside of a cup or a vase or whatever is the right size and just put it in there and then fold the Ziploc part to the outside of the cup and it will hold your bag open and in place. And then I just go ahead and measure my half cup and I scoop it into the bag and then I close up the bags. Now, I'll do this until I've bagged up every single bit of what is in the blender. If I have a little leftover, I usually make a baggie that's a little bit bigger and I mark that one off for lattes. Sometimes I just put that one in my freezer or I'm sorry, in my fridge so that I have it and I can enjoy those lattes all week long. Y'all, that's it. That's it. That's all you need to do. If you're making pumpkin soup or you're making pumpkin muffins or pumpkin pie or whatever, you can actually use the pumpkin right from there into your pies or soups or whatever. It will stay good for about a week in your fridge, but it'll stay good for 3 months in the freezer. Now, usually with most foods, when I put them in the freezer, I label them so I know when it went in. And that way I make sure I use it on time. However, since I only do this with pumpkins when they're in season, which means early November, I know that that pumpkin will stay good for December, January until early February, right? So all through the winter, I can have all of my pumpkin goodies and I'm obsessed. Now, if you want to make pumpkin seeds, and by the way, most people don't know this, but you can actually roast any squash seeds. So if you have an acorn squash or a butternut squash and you have seeds, you can roast and eat those as well. They're incredibly nutrient dense. They are so, so good for you. Yes, you do eat the shell as well when you cook them like this. And it's really, really important to know that these are really nutritious and they kind of hit that salty, crunchy craving that you might have that maybe usually has you eating potato chips. So, all you want to do there is you're going to rinse them really well and get that fleshy part off. Okay. I find that this is easiest to do with pumpkin seeds, but you just get that fleshy part off. Then you're going to soak them in a bowl with some water and a little bit of salt. Okay. You want to soak them for about 8 hours. I usually just soak them overnight. And then when you're done soaking them, you're going to strain them. Okay. Rinse them off and then just put them out on a baking sheet. I usually put parchment on the baking sheet or foil, and then I lay them out on that baking sheet because you want them to dry, and then I cook them right on that baking sheet. So you're going to let them dry for 8 hours. Usually I do this rinsing process around lunchtime. I lay them all out and after dinner, they're ready to go in the oven. So when they're done drying, when that 8 hours is over, you're just going to drizzle some avocado oil is my preference because it is really fine to heat it up. But you could also use any kind of oil really that you happen to have. Avocado oil is definitely the healthiest option. And then you're going to drizzle some oil over it so that they're just slick with oil. You don't need very much. I'm promising you, you don't. Start off with just a little bit, maybe a tablespoon. You're just going to kind of stir them up. I do it with my hands, to be honest. Just stir them up so that they're all coated in oil, lay them out flat. Sprinkle them with whatever seasoning you want to put on them. I usually use salt and nutritional yeast. Cumin and chili powder are also really great options for pumpkin seeds. Delish. And then you're going to put them in the oven at 300 degrees for about 30 minutes. Okay. You want to kind of toss them around every 10 minutes or so, just so that you are not overcooking them. If you get to 30 minutes and they're still not quite as golden brown as you want, you can leave them in for a little longer or you can increase the temperature, but keep a really close eye on them because they cook really fast at that point. They will turn golden brown quick at that point, and you want them to be kind of a golden brown. They are absolutely delicious. Enjoy them guilt-free because I have to tell you this again, they are so incredibly good for you. Just so very, very healthy. So there you go. You will never wonder again how to prepare a squash or a pumpkin. By the way, this is super impressive to most people. So if you're ever having friends over for dinner or anything like that, you're taking a pie to the boyfriend's family's house for a holiday or a soup or anything like that, and you use a squash, I'm telling you, super, super inexpensive, and it just blows people's minds. And now you know how incredibly easy it is. Do not forget to subscribe because you never want to miss a single small step Saturday. And in between, I'm talking about all the possible ways that you can overcome obstacles, grow and accomplish your goals, and create the healthy habits that you need to build the life you've been dreaming of. You totally deserve it. You are absolutely amazing, and I believe in you. I cannot wait to hear about all of your fall food now that you know how to do this. So easy, so easy. All right. Bye, everyone.